Will she be very terrible, Papa, will she?
Oh, yes. Shocking. And awful presents. I'd go straight to bed if I were you.
It makes the three of us.
Is she tall, Papa?
She's enormous. A giantess.
Come. Minnie, don't be absurd.
I expect she has a very piercing gaze, has she, Papa? And huge fierce eyebrows.
And bristling moustaches.
She must have lived through terrible times, poor lady, to write as she does.
Well, my dear, we can't know that.
And I think sometimes that poor woman locked in her room and at the end of the burning house.
I like that part best. And what I like second best is where Rochester is on his horse. And
I'm sure if you wait, you can tell all that to the authoress herself, my dear.
And I'm sure she can't. Now, Minnie, remember what you promised, half an hour and then bed. But Annie is a young lady and has privileges. Now, when you're grown to be a young lady...
If either of you wish to be called young ladies, you'd better start moving among our guests. We are neglecting them shamefully.
Tea-leaf has come across the broad oceans of the world.
Do you think Mrs. Mona Gibson needs rescuing?
Perhaps.
I don't think she expected such company as the Colonel's here.
It serves her right.
Why on earth did you invite her?
Oh, dear, she positively held a pistol to my head.
2 or 3 times a day.
Colonel, I'm so pleased to see you here, Mrs. Mona Gibson.
The Reverend Brookfield's arrived, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Where is he now?
He's in the study, sir.
Thank you, Jane.
Greatly looking for.
Be worth waiting for.
Oh, perhaps she's heard. James is coming. Oh, no, I thought perhaps that.
Brookfield. We didn't expect you till tomorrow at the earliest.
Yes.
Just back in town?
Yes, to be told by the domestics that Jane dines with you tonight. Is she here?
Of course she is, dear fellow. I say, you couldn't have come at a better time. You will never guess to whom we play host tonight. Carabelle. Jane Eyre, man, Jane Eyre. Triumph of the season before last. Unprotected governesses, cruel employers, romantic larks on the wild moors, and really is an extraordinary work.
I'm afraid my duties, unimportant though they must seem, leave little time for novels nowadays. I have never heard of Mr. Bell. I'm sure I've never heard of half the fashionable gentlemen who you number in your acquaintance of late, or the brilliant ladies.
The odd thing is, Mr. Bell is a lady, a Miss Bronte. You shall meet her, Brooks. We'll lay an extra place for dinner.
Thank you. No, I simply came to fetch my wife.
Take her away.
You have no objections?
Just that she was so looking forward to this evening. Oh, come, please, dine with us.
Well, I'm hardly dressed for such a great occasion.
What does it matter? It'll be fun. You'll make us laugh.
I have wasted a great deal of my life making people laugh. I intend to spend very little of what remains in that fashion. Oh, I've been on the road for the past 2 weeks, up beyond Derby. I assure you I found nothing in the least romantic about the wild moors.
Yes. How goes the inspectorate? Problems?
The standard of instruction in some of the schools is appalling. Why, in one village, the fellow that... Of course, it is of no interest to you whatsoever. Oh, you must forgive me. I only got back to London an hour ago. Came straight here from the house. Didn't even pause to tidy myself, I'm afraid.
So I see.
Hmm?
There's a smudge here.
Oh, thank you.
I have the solution. You shall stay here, nice and snug, in the sherry, and James will bring you a plate of sandwiches. Meanwhile, we will be devouring the fatted calf in Miss Bronte's honour, and then as soon as is decently possible, Jane shall be released to you. How's that?
It's absurd. Jane would never wish to have me sitting in here alone.
She doesn't know. I didn't have a chance to mention your arrival to her. Oh, come on, Brooks, it'll be fun. I'll produce you out of my hat like a conjurer's rabbit. It'll be marvellous for her. First the Bronte, and then hubby home 2 whole days earlier than expected.
I don't wish to be crouching in your study for hours in muddy boots. I'm a clergyman, Thackeray, not one of your newspaper cronies. It is exactly this kind of escapade that I must... Oh, if you like. It's such a farce. And Jane must come soon. I'll not sit here alone all night.
Of course not, of course not. And we'll feed you up in spite of yourself. I'll speak to James now about the whittles. What shall it be, Brooks? Beef. Yes, you always were a great man for the beef. And since you will not meet the novelist, you are condemned to read the novel.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
We have to wait for it.
I think it's too... It isn't when one enjoys it so much.
Yes, it's so exciting.
Oh, nothing. Just seeing James about the arrangements. No sign of the lioness yet.
The children are terrified.
Well, it's true, she is a little formidable. She was very severe with me this morning on the subject of my dreadful cynicism, something like that. Oh, and something else about not respecting myself sufficiently. She frowned a lot at that point. I think she nearly stamped her foot.
She is a little impertinent, n'est-ce pas?
The thing is, the woman's a hero worshipper.
She certainly shows taste in her choice.
Yes, of course, Gareth.
She don't like feet of clay. Happily, as it turns out, her hopes are not entirely dependent upon myself. She worships someone greater by far. Can you guess who it is?
Mr. Dickens?
Oh, far greater than Mr. Dickens. Wellington. Yes, himself. She's in ecstasies over the old boy. I think she's quite safe there. You'll not let her down.
Oh, Papa, she's not going to come, I know it.
Guest of honour thrown us over, Thackeray.
Right, getting peckish, Colonel.
Well.
I think, Mr. Thackeray, it is she.
I shall die, completely die.
Children, be sensible.
Are you liking London, Miss Bronte?
Oh, well, yes. And no.
Froggy would a wooing go, hey ho, said Rolly. A froggy would a wooing go, whether his mother would let him or no. With a hey ho, gammon and spinach, hey ho, said Anthony Rolly. Thackeray! Thackeray! Your presence is positively required. Where and by whom? The whole crowd. We're going to gorge ourselves on beef pie, drown ourselves with ale.
Brookfield.
Oh, yes, and John Allen here.
I thought we might discuss our futures, seriously.
If any. And where better to do it? Time like an ever-rolling stream, etc.
Who else will be there?
Oh, you see, we are not enough. Well, Harry Matthews will be there. Tennyson. And Hallam. Dear Hallam. Hallam will have to be there. He's promised to bring the spread.
Hey, oh, you must say now.
Now, gentlemen, we are not here just to make pigs of ourselves.
Oh,
no. John Allen here is right.
What? Never.
Here we are, our last day ever at dear old Trinity. Tomorrow, we go forth into the wide world, yet none of us has given thought to that morrow. Gentlemen, where shall we be in 10 years' time? 20 years? 40? Gentlemen, where shall we be when we die?
I shall be in a brothel, I hope. Matthews, I wish you wouldn't.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Reverend.
I shall in fact die, surrounded by my dear, sweet sisters, and with my poor, sainted mother leaning over me to apply a last farewell kiss to my ashen brow. What the devil they're all doing in a brothel, I cannot tell.
Now be serious, gentlemen.
What's the point, Brooks? Everyone knows what they'll be doing anyway.
I don't, Hallam.
Oh, Thackeray doesn't have to do anything. He's outrageously rich. Aren't you, old boy? All you East India swells are confoundedly well off.
Well, if Thackeray carries on the way he is, I doubt if the entire treasures of the Orient will see him through. There's a silly story going the rounds that you lost £1,000 at cards the other day. 400 guineas on a single hand? Absolute nonsense, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, Thackeray's an exception. Everyone else. Scrimshaw's going into the law. Allen's for the church.
No.
And Tennyson.
Yes. Ah, the laureate. Declaim. Give us a poem.
No, I will not give you a poem.
Oh, do. Something with a bit of in it. Fare thee well, and if forever, still forever, fare thee well.
And what of our novelist Roman?
Oh, Brookfield. Come with me, William. We can write great stuff together.
But I write terrible poetry. You've seen my efforts.
Yes, well, come with me anyway. You can have my lesser works. I'll write them, you sign them.
You know, Brooks could make a damn good living abroad.
Where?
Oh, Paris, say. Paris is full of wealthy old ladies. I'm sure they could be persuaded to part with a little of their loot for the privilege of discovering your finer points.
No, John, don't go. I want you especially to hear this. No jokes now. I haven't told anyone yet, but last vacation I did settle in my mind what my career should be.
What?
I am taking holy orders. No.
Is this true, Brookfield?
Yes. I've been offered a curacy in Yorkshire near my home. I'm to go there directly.
Is this matter settled, Brooks?
Yes, quite settled.
Well, there's the end of a jolly fellow.
I wish you'd talk to me about it first.
Well, it was for me to decide. You can't see me as a parson?
No.
You think I'm not good enough?
I think you're too good. You won't be happy stuck in a little curate's house in Yorkshire?
Oh, nonsense. Besides, what is the alternative? What else is there?
Well, I always thought we too. I mean, when we'd finished here, you'd go out to London and...
Exactly. And what?
Well, try our fortunes. I know in my case, but you, Brooks, with your wit and your abilities. Oh, to be lingering in a curacy.
Oh, come now. I shan't forever be in a curate's place. And with my wit and abilities and the rest, I shall rise, Thackeray, I shall rise.
The master thought you might want this, sir.
You're sent to keep me drunk and unprotesting in here, is that it, huh?
Sir?
Oh, nothing, Has the dinner begun yet, James?
Not yet, sir. Mr. Smith and the lady have only just arrived.
Oh, and James?
Sir?
That was a joke, what I said just now.
Oh, quite, sir.
Mrs. Milner Gibson is here, of course, because she's a great admirer of yours. The Colonel, on the other hand, is here only because it's Thursdays, and Thursday is his day to dine with us, isn't that so, Colonel? And Miss Bronte, Colonel Truelove, late of the East India Company, an old family friend.
Utter nonsense, Miss Bronte. I was charmed to hear that you'd be joining us tonight, but I do dine here on Thursdays pretty often.
He does. Mr. Smith, I believe you know, Colonel. Smith has the extreme good fortune to publish both myself and Miss Bronte. I think I may be able to get hold of the Colonel's memoirs for you. Fascinating stuff. Surprising particulars hitherto suppressed concerning the Duke of Wellington's career in India.
I would be most interested to see them, Colonel Truelove.
Hang it, old Thackeray only mentioned that last Thursday for the sake of something to say. Matter of fact, I haven't put pen to paper yet. Doubt if I ever shall. No. Though there are a few tales I could tell, if I wished.
Heavens! And that, I think, completes our motley band, Miss Bronte. Oh, I couldn't introduce you to my two daughters. They'd be paralyzed with fright. There's no one else worth introducing you to. Oh, unless you'd care to inspect this youth. Thomas Truelove, the Colonel's son. presently in great disgrace as a result of a little escapade in Oxford last term. Isn't that so, Tom?
Oh, I say, Thackeray.
Now, Miss Bronte, I'm going to leave this rogue in your hands for a moment. Do not let him off lightly. He stands in even more need of your correction than I do.
Thackeray's rather a blighter, but his dinner's usually quite good.
I was just remarking that one of the pleasures of coming to Mr. Thackeray's house is the certainty that one will find Mrs. Brookfield in it.
She does absent herself occasionally.
I'm sure even the Reverend Brookfield's Christian forbearance would be strained if she did not. He is well?
I believe so. He is away at present. His duties.
Yes. But how fortunate you are in his frequent absences. So many happy returns. Every parting gives a foretaste of death. Every coming together again, a foretaste of the resurrection. I do so envy you your resurrections, my dear.
I gather we are now quite ready, so Colonel, Mrs. Milner Gibson.
Yes.
Miss Bronte, if you would take my arm. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Miss Bronte, before we dine, I'm afraid my daughter has a small musical offering to make in your honour, so if you would be so kind. Colonel, I am truly sorry. Come on, Tom, play for your supper.
What should it be, Minnie? No. Something jolly from the theatre.
If I remember the rehearsals correctly, I think we may count upon a traditional air.
Mrs. Brookfield, I forgot how it starts.
Come on, Minnie, do your worst.
In Scarlet Town, where I was born, there was a fair maid dwelling. Full many a lad was all forlorn, for love of Barbara Allen. All in the merry month of May, when June buds they were swelling.
Have you heard about the fashionable new preacher at St. James's Piccadilly, my dear?
Thackeray?
Beg your pardon?
Thackeray? Marvellous.
Well, I couldn't miss your London debut, could I?
Thank you. Thackeray, there is someone I want you to meet.
Excellent sentiments, Mr. Brookfield. Yes.
Thank you, Ma.
You'll be calling on us this evening?
If I may.
Come along, Jane.
Well?
Exquisite. Now I know what you're doing in the pulpit, all stern and righteous. You're studying the form.
Miss Jane Elton and I are engaged to be married, Thackeray.
Well, congratulations. But she's a child.
Oh, she's young, yes, but she has a fine, upright character and she listens so well. It is a joy to teach her.
When is the event?
Well, soon, I hope. Now that I am established. Well, it's true, I was hoping for something a little more substantial for my first London appointment.
Yes, I was sorry to hear about that. John Allen told me.
He would. But it is a living of sorts. And it is London. And I mean to marry her, Thackeray. What's the sense in waiting? You didn't, and you came to no harm, did you?
No, indeed.
How is your wife?
Well, quite well. Naturally, so soon after confinement, she's a little,
When Miss Elton and I are married, we will pay tremendous visits on you, Thackeray. And you and your lady shall visit us in return. We will be a domestic little foursome, shall we? Very neighbourly. My dear friend, I want you to promise me...
Half my kingdom, Brooks.
I want you to promise me that you will be as dear a friend to my Jane as you have been to me. Will you, Thackeray? Promise me that?
Where do you... Thrilling, my dear, quite thrilling. Now then, you remember what you promised? Now then, come and say goodnight to Miss Bronte, even though you were too impolite to say how do you do.
Good night, Miss Bronte.
Good night, miss.
Now then, I think at last we really might, before the Colonel runs amok. Miss Bronte, once again, Are they laughing at us, Miss Bronte?
No.
Oh.
Oh, my boy, look what you've done now. Pick it up before you come to the... It's always a good smell coming here. Dinner?
That happened about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yes.
Well, then, straight away, after this enormous supper, the poor man was positively required to give a performance. There are your poems. Read. Well, they were Americans, of course, and so one supposes accustomed by necessity to taking genius by force where and when they can. But really... You would not, I think, respond with much gratification to such importunances, Miss Bronte, if they were to be directed towards you. Miss Bronte.
I beg your pardon.
Would you like some more dessert, Miss Bronte? I don't believe you've tried the meringues yet. James?
No, I thank you.
Personally, I haven't much patience with these literary people. Limp poets and hysterical women. Lot of nonsense. Always accepting your good self, of course, Miss Bronte. And our host, Thackeray, always knew you had it in you. Yeah. Matter of fact, I was catching up on your latest at the club. Only the other day. Superb. Superb. Different, you know, but quite superb.
Personally, I find Thackeray rather a bore to read. He does go on a bit, don't you think?
He is an eagle, sir. The captain of our profession.
Oh. Well, I just think he rather goes on a bit. Well, in my view.
But Vanity Fair. There was a book, Thackeray. There was a book, sir.
Yes.
You know the bit that always bowled me over the most? It's where that young fool, what's his name, gets himself killed. Waterloo. Blubbed like a child, and I read that bit, always do. It isn't so much his death, you know. But when you go on reading, everyone else, all the other people, they're getting older and older. That poor young devil, he's always the same. Stuck where he is. Finished. Not much older than young Tom here. I had a friend once. Dear, dear friend. Went down aboard an Indiaman 40 years ago. Boy, he was 22, 23 at the time, so was I. Well, now I'm a silly old fool. Yet he's always the same. A boy with his life ahead of him. Poor Dick. Never know what he might have become.
Perhaps it was for the best, Colonel. Some men of talent peter out at the end, an offence to themselves and a pain to everyone near them. Better perhaps they died at their time of promise.
Wouldn't apply to Dick, you know. Thackeray never had much promise in him to begin with. Oh, steady enough fellow, but not much up there. Thank you, James. Thank you.
This isn't your first visit to London, Miss Bronte.
Oh, no. I've been here on several occasions. The last time was 2 years ago, with my sister.
Yes, there was trouble with the publisher.
Wretched man.
No, you know Newby. This fellow was advertising Miss Bronte's sister's books as being by the author of Jane Eyre.
Publishers are all rogues, Miss Bronte.
Well, this one is, at any rate.
Miss Bronte has a sister who publishes as well.
2 sisters.
Oh, the devil. Scribble, scribble, eh? Whole family at it. Well, well. Miss Bronte, are your sisters enjoying the sights of London with you, eh? Where are they now, eh? Yeah. Well. Why aren't they here, Thackeray? We must always make room for the ladies, eh?
They are both dead now, sir.
I think I'll just subside.
I should.
At least they're beyond newbies' power to injure. Their posthumous reputations are secure.
I fear that reputation will not be large, Mr. Thackeray. They, well, one of them at least, had great powers, I think. But she was not given the time. She was one who was taken while her promise was still green.
Ladies, shall we?
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Mr. Thackeray.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Now, Miss Bronte, I'm not going to allow you to stir from my side. I have 1,000 questions I want to ask you.
Poor little woman.
Oh, I think she might be a match for even Mrs. Milner Gibson. Really? She'll just sit there looking startled, and Mrs. Milliner G will gradually fade away.
Now, gentlemen, for the consummation of our feast. Fine Havana leaf. And if you say there is a better in London, well, I shall be angry.
No. Would you mind leaving out the cigars tonight, Thackeray? My lungs won't stand a smoky room lately. I'll tell you what, Thackeray. I suppose I shouldn't really mention this, but I heard a remarkable story at the club the other day, linking Miss Bronte's name with, and you won't credit it, yours.
Yes, I know the story only too well. Utterly foolish.
Oh.
No, it's too ridiculous, really. The whole business started because Miss Bronte decided to insert a rather silly and incautious dedication to me in her book. Though we hardly knew each other, mind. And as you can see, she's not a woman likely to guess at the way some kind people would choose to view her innocent compliments. They're completely ignorant of our London ways. It comes from up there, you know.
Eh?
Yorkshire. Oh. Another delightful ingredient in her brew is that there are details in the book. Well, it deals with the husband of a mad woman, and as the world knows, my own wife.
Yeah.
In fact, I blame Smith here for the whole wretched business.
Me?
Well, you published the woman. You might have advised her against that dedication.
Easier said than done. Well, I wouldn't relish sitting down and explaining to Miss Bronte the grounds of our prohibition. I'd feel, well, rather disgusted.
James?
Sorry to disturb you, sir. The boy said it was most urgent.
Oh.
He is waiting for an answer, sir.
Damn, it really is rather urgent.
Oh, well, you run along and deal with it, eh, Thackeray? We'll get on all right without you.
I'm very sorry.
Nonsense, my dear fellow. Thank you.
Please forgive me.
Oh, my boy, I need a refill.
It's not a bad place altogether, is it?
You think so? Yet it is one of those places with hidden charms. There's some very interesting fungus growing on that wall over there. You see how cleverly we've hung the curtains. Yet it is enough for our needs at present. Although what we shall do if we grow any larger, if Jane grows any larger. Oh, don't worry, Janie. Thackeray here is an old family man, aren't you? Hmm?
William has told me about your distress.
Yes. Yes, I have a pair of rising daughters, and I assure you, you will need more room, certainly. Also lots of patience, and it does help if you're just a little deaf.
Who is looking after them now?
They're in Paris with their grandparents.
Poor mites.
Well, the mother's nearby.
There is no hope for her.
Thackeray isn't here to talk about all these gloomy things. He's here for fun and beef.
No, it's all right. I've placed him in the care of a Dr. Putzin. He's had some unexpected successes.
You are living entirely alone now?
Oh, he's all right. He's got all his newspaper cronies. Haven't you, Thackeray? Racketing fellows. Always got some sport going on. Hmm?
I do see many people during the course of the day.
But not so many in the evenings. And at weekends? Well, will you must come to see us often. Will you? You mustn't become a great bear all alone in your cave. I know men do that. Now, will you promise me, Mr. Thackeray, you will come to see us? Often? Yeah. I shall hold you to it, sir.
Please, Mum, it's about the afters. Baker said he ain't got no more yesterday's tarts, and is it all right if he sends over some of today's?
What? Is it finished?
Very nearly. I came to share your vigil.
No. This is a ridiculous business.
You know, you really should have met our guest of honor, Brooks. She really is an original woman. In her own way.
I think I have quite lost my taste for original women. Some wretched original women have been corresponding with my wife. Do you know anything about this? Yes, they write letters to each other and get pamphlets made up and sold in all the dirty little shops. There's a whole pack of the vixen. I found this on my wife's dressing table on my return. It's a fine thing for the wife of a clergyman to be reading, don't you think? My God, Jane might even have written it. Well, isn't it disgraceful?
It is rather foolish.
Rather foolish. It's outrageous, Thackeray. There are sentences here about a woman's position so indelicate, and see here the way it talks about husbands. It positively ridicules the office. What sort of poison is that to have lying about one's home? It is a dagger thrust at my authority. You must see it, even you. But Jane, of all people, who used to be so tender and modest and eager to learn what was good and obedient.
Brooks, you must remember that she was very young when you first met her. Now she's an adult. She's become aware of her powers.
And this is the happy result?
It is inevitable that an emerging intellect will at first seize upon some such plausible and exciting, but very wrong ideas. It's all part of growing up, Brooks.
Well, I read this and I wish she'd stayed young forever. It's part and parcel of it all.
Of all what, Brooks?
Everything. The blight that is upon us. Jane's degeneracy.
Well, you cannot say that. In my opinion, she is...
Oh, yes, we are in no danger of forgetting your high opinion of my wife. Every post brings new assurances.
I have offered not to write to her if it offends you.
And put me in the position of forbidding you? That would present me in a flattering light.
In whose eyes, Brooks?
Well, in my own, at any rate. Why must you write to her?
It's all part of our friendship. An intellectual friendship.
Well, I didn't imagine it would be otherwise. Well, you've known each other for nearly 10 years. I don't remember your friendship was always of such intensity that it required these daily tokens of devotion.
It has been of slow growth, certainly.
It's got mighty quick since your success, has it not? Such a coincidence.
I should be very sorry if that were the case.
I should be astonished if it were not. Women are like that.
Brooks, I wonder if you're being fair to her altogether, old boy. You know she fears your bad opinion very much.
I want no advice from you on how to treat my wife. Your own record in that subject is no great recommendation, judging by results. Thackeray, sorry. This marriage business is like dipping into a pitcher of snakes in the hope of finding an eel. I stopped at Shiplake to see Tennyson wed. He has won his lady and is as happy as a clown. Neither of us found the eel.
I did.
You wouldn't do any different.
Neither would you.
Thackeray,
Sir. Mrs. Brookfield was asking after you, sir.
I'll come at once. Is everybody still here?
Mr. Smith and Miss Bronte have just left. And Mrs. Milner Gibson. I believe the Colonel and Mr. Truelove are still taking wine.
Thank you, James. I'll send it to you directly.
Deserting your guests, sir. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I am, desperately. Were they furious?
Good night, Papa. Oh, I don't think Mr. Smith can afford to be furious with you. As for Miss Bronte, I am sure anything is permitted to you in her eyes.
A few more encounters like that, though, and she may be changing her mind. Hang it, though, it was a glum evening.
She is a difficult lady. It makes me glad I do not dine with genius very often.
Thank you, my dear. William is here. Your husband in the study. He's come back to us 2 whole days earlier than expected. He won't fly away. I had hoped to read something to you tonight. I've been rallying Pendennis. He'll be better next month. I would like to have heard your applause first. I realise you can't stay now, but maybe tomorrow after the exhibition.
I cannot go to it now.
Well, why? We arranged that long ago. Why shouldn't you?
William will need me.
Need you? Well, not 24 hours of the day. Surely you're not his body slave. Well, maybe on Tuesday, after Lady Stanley's, we'll come back here and I'll read to you in full-throated magnificence until the small hours, shall we?
No, I cannot. William has written to me.
Oh, I see.
There is the baby now.
Yes, of course. I thought we'd sorted all this out last time.
So did I.
His reasons are?
Still the same, I think.
Some old Reverend Fuddy-Duddy has been chivying him about us.
It might do, my dear, if Mr. Thackeray wasn't a writer, but writers are notorious for irregular hours, late breakfasts, and other immoralities.
People seem to find it impossible to comprehend an intellectual friendship.
You do appear to have difficulty. I was planning to tell you this tomorrow before his return. I would have put it better.
When did you receive the letter?
Some time ago, a few days.
You shouldn't have let me go on making arrangements for us. Though I can see it had its humorous side, I would have been spared tonight's farce at least, even though I know how much you wish to meet Miss Bronte.
Oh, I did not think the evening was so wretched. Minnie sang most sweetly. You really ought to provide her with an instructor.
Yes, I might do that. Has anything in particular happened to upset William?
Indeed, the contrary. We have hopes of a promotion shortly.
Ah. And he thinks I might stand in the way. Oh, poor Brooks.
He just feels we must both be especially circumspect now. Well, naturally, his superiors judge him by his wife's conduct as well.
Yes. I just can't get used to seeing this as a house of ill fame. God knows I don't want to stand in the way of William's promotion. We've been waiting long enough for him to be made Archbishop.
I don't think his sights are set so high as that anymore.
No.
But now he's been made a schools inspector, he feels he's on the ladder at last, and so...
Yes. Are you not to come to me at all?
Oh, I cannot think he means a total ban. He has simply asked me to stop... He calls it my literary gadding about. Oh, there will be occasions. The children's birthday.
Minnie's is in May and Annie's last week. We missed them both.
There will be many times when it will be suitable.
Can't you speak to him? If only he can be made to see.
I will. When I feel strong.
Very well, then. We'll tiptoe about, shall we, until William sees fit to smile upon us again. We'll pour everything into our letters and keep our spirits up. Are they forbidden too? Good God, the man is treating me like a rival.
I'm sure no one could conceive of that.
No. But all the same, we snap at each other like dogs. It's incredible.
His disappointments...
I'm sorry for his disappointments. I've been sorry for them for 20 years. I don't see why we should all have to share in the wreck.
I must, at any rate.
But the letters, there's no harm in them.
William has not been happy with them.
But damn it, they weren't written for him. If he must go through everyone like a detective, Jane, there is nothing improper in them.
Sometimes the sentiments are a little extravagant.
Effusions, moments of exuberance. Jane, I can make them as plain and uninspired as he could wish. Now, what does he require? Tell me.
He told me once I ought never to write anything I would dislike to see blazoned up on Charing Cross.
Oh, I should like to see that. Jane, I am as lonely as hell. You are my lifeline.
Dear brother, it may only be for a little while.
And how long is that? Everything for the husband and nothing left for me.
It is my duty.
I thought your ideas had become less conventional than that.
And he is so unhappy.
I would change places with him in an instant. Can he be everything to you? When you were a girl, it was easy, wasn't it?
Her faith is fixed and cannot move. She darkly feels him great and wise. She dwells on him with faithful eyes. I cannot understand. I love.
But now?
When one grows up, one's expectations change.
But one's behaviour stays the same.
How should it change? Oh, I cannot understand you. William will be wondering what's become of me. Perhaps we could still write. Sometimes.
Thackeray, the scoundrel.
I'm very sorry, Colonel. The business really was urgent.
Yeah, well, we finished all your best wine. Serve you right. Young Tom didn't stop there either.
Well, I say, Thackeray, you...
You know, you really should put that boy to some occupation.
Yes, I know I should, Thackeray, but you'll scarcely believe it, but I just love to have him around me. Well, must say my goodbyes to Mrs. Brookfield.
I think she may have gone.
Oh, well then. Annie! Mustn't forget her. You know, I envy you, that gal, Thackeray. But then, of course, gals are always easier than boys. Eh? Annie, my dear, where are you? Up there. Yeah. Annie!
Well, thank you for your hospitality.
Good night, Mr. Thackeray. William?
You must come and see us one day.
Oh, wasn't that Brookfield? Dullest fellow in London.
Yes. You know, at Cambridge, we thought him the wittiest man in the university.
Oh, I dare say he was. Of course, I was at the other place, you know, different standards altogether. Oh, that reminds me. It's a story, yeah, a joke, you'll like it. It seems there was this very small chap, I mean, extraordinarily small, little short-ass fella. So small, in fact, that his doctor could never be sure whether he should be treating him for a sore throat or for piles.
Oh, delightful. Yes, good night, Colonel.
Oh, well, good night to you, yeah. Now then, Tom?
Thank you, James. Good night.
Pa, I found her on the landing. He asked everyone was going.
Mrs. Mona Gibson tried to get into Mrs. Smith's carriage, but they wouldn't have her.
What are you doing up, you silly girl? Hey, we haven't done this for an age. I thought you were about to turn into a young lady any minute now. I love you, and you love me.
And who does Papa love?
I know who Papa loves. Papa loves Mrs. Brookfield.
Papa cannot love Mrs. Brookfield, as she is married to Reverend Brookfield.
Papa loves his two little women, and always will, unless they don't go to bed immediately.
Good night, Papa.
Good night, my dear.
Pa.
Yes,
you think if we all went to see Mamma?
No, my dear.
But perhaps the happy shock could make her well again.
Happy shock. That lady has had enough shocks to last her a lifetime. Now, good night, my dear.
Good night, Papa.